Are you afraid of the dark? Because you shouldn't be. Let's talk about lights today. There it goes. Today we're gonna talk about something that's not as glamorous as a camera, the lens you use on it, the fancy different attachments that you can get for a camera. Today we're gonna talk about lights. And today we are gonna talk about the Amaran 60xS COB lights. Now, Amaran, as far as I understand it, is sort of a child company of Aperture. Now, Aperture, of course, if you are aware of the complete YouTube space, most of your favorite YouTubers are using Aperture variant lights of some sort. As far as I understood it, it started with the 120D, was one of the most popular lights that I saw online with any YouTube creator out there, especially when it comes to the camera space alone. And then it quickly progressed to something like a 300 or plus watt light. And in my opinion, it's absolutely overkill when it comes to lighting anything like this. Talking head, if you're using it for a wedding, even if you're shooting your first short film, something like that. I don't think those lights are necessarily needed for something like I do on a day-to-day basis. On top of that, those Aperture lights are extremely expensive. So it kind of hurt me to see that, man, everybody's scenes look so good. Everybody's videos look so good. What am I missing? And one of the big things I realized very quickly was my lighting. I would either use house lights that, come from the ceiling that are just kind of shining on top of my head and unevenly lighting my face, or at least the way I wanted it. And then I started with some really cheap kind of photo umbrella with giant, spiral bulbs, whatever those are called in them, and just having it bounce off the umbrella. If you are familiar with anything that I've done before, I had a podcast before, and that's exactly how we started. It looked terrible. We were using those lights. We were using the light that was just installed in the ceiling when I bought the house. It looked awful. And part of it was obviously having not so great camera gear at the time, but realistically, a lot of that was lighting. Once I upgraded to some different kind of panel LED lights, cheap, newer, off of Amazon, they were extremely cheap, 3 of them for a couple $100. I realized that lighting absolutely was key to making your image quality look as best as it possibly can. My production went up from there. And from there, I started looking even more into what are some alternatives to those Aperture lights that I can get into that won't cost me another car or anything like that, because again, they are expensive. So that switches to kind of these Amaran lights, something I think started at least gaining popularity just a few years ago. As far as I know, it's a child company of Aperture, so to speak. I'm a musician, so for me, this is the Epiphone to the Gibson, or the PRS SE to the PRS, the Made in Mexico Fenders or Squire to the Made in America Fenders. These are the kind of, pretty much the same exact lights. They use the same application, which we'll go over in just a few short moments. And they use a lot of the same attachments, anything that you want to buy for it. I believe my softbox here is an Aperture softbox. I could be wrong. We'll take a look at that shortly. But with these Amaran lights, it created something that I didn't think I was going to be able to do. I didn't think I was going to be able to anytime soon get the light that I want, because a lot of the stuff that I do is outside. I'm shooting out in daylight. I don't necessarily need lights for that. But for stuff like this, I wanted something that was completely color accurate, that I could change on the go, be able to have something bright enough to light exactly what I wanted to do. But I also didn't want that giant footprint that comes with the Aperture 120 or beyond. The Amaran 60xS COB lights are extremely small compared to most of the other lights out there. We're gonna go over what it looks like in just a few moments, but that is something that really, really pleased me, especially because stands also are the next thing that you have to buy in order to be able to project these lights. You can't just set them on the ground. You can't expect them to work like that. So you have to buy stands for them. And some of these heavier lights, especially if you're at a wedding, you're pulling in a super heavy light, and then you're trying to raise the stand as high up as you can go so you don't blind the next person to you, and then hope it doesn't fall over on anybody in the ceremony or anybody in a reception or when speeches are going on. And then on top of that, you don't want these massive legs or anything that people could trip over. The Amaran 60xS lights solved that problem for me. They're not heavy at all. They weigh hardly anything, and you can put them on almost any stand that you are comfortable with putting them on. So today I want to go over some of the key features I like about this light. I'm going to go over the light with you and then see what you guys think. So of course, in every video that I'm doing, I'm using that light. I'm using some sort of softbox here. I believe it is an Aperture. If not, it is an Amaran branded softbox. It's one of the two. It's got the grid diffusion on it, and I love it. I think it looks great. I've filmed with it multiple times, and You guys see it pretty much in every video that I shoot. I think it's a great looking light. So as I said, it's incredibly small. It's powerful. I mean, it packs a punch in a very, very small footprint. It is bicolor. So it goes from 27 Kelvin all the way up to, I think, 6,500. Yeah, so from 2,700 Kelvin all the way to 6,500. And typically I run this at about 5,200 or so. I am not an expert when it comes to color temperatures. I try to match whatever I decide white balance wise I'm gonna do in my camera. A lot of times I even let my camera go white balance, and then I kind of test out what's gonna work best for me. When it comes to lighting, white balance is also key. So make sure if you are using a light like this, that you are white balancing or making sure the scene is lit properly. If you're using this for your first short film, make sure it's matching any of your practical lights that you have in the room. Obviously, my practical lights I use are completely colored RGB lights, so this is not RGB, so it's not gonna match that. And it would also look weird if I have a giant purple or blue light on my face right now. One of the things I love about this light is you can either AC power it, which I typically do for videos like this, or you can actually, it comes with a battery attachment that you can use I think they're the Sony NPF style batteries that pretty much everything else uses out there, including camera monitors or Sony cameras for that matter. It is a great way to be able to be absolutely versatile with the light. You could buy an attachment for it that is basically a handle grip, where for me, if I have like my second shooter with me and I just want to light something real quick, maybe I'm doing detail shots in like a reception hall and I'm unable to get that shot because it's so dimly lit in there, nobody's in there yet, we can hold that attachment up, hold the light up, and be able to actually capture the image that I want to get with proper lighting. It makes it very easy because of how small that light is. And then on top of that, being battery powered, I'm not dragging around a massive cable to be able to power these lights. To have that versatility is key for me because I can do whatever I need to do with it. A lot of times when I go to a wedding and I need to light a speech or something, I'm not able to actually plug in my lights all the time. Half the time there's no plugins on the walls. And so a lot of times I have to have those batteries available and be able to use battery power. These things are fairly efficient. In my opinion, I haven't done a scientific test, so don't start asking me the questions, because unfortunately I don't have the answer. If that's something you want to know, let me know down in the comments below. For the most part, I can get through a wedding day with just 2 pretty standard sized batteries. I'll show you exactly what I use in just a moment. They're not expensive, and after the light and you get a good stand, you're really not into these lights too much. I'm able to get 2 lights, 2 stands, and batteries for this, probably for less than the cost of one of those 120Ds. So while this light doesn't come with a nice softbox that you can go ahead and just day one be able to attach everything for that extremely low price, it does come with at least what I'm assuming is more or less a spotlight attachment. You can put this right on the light, and then on top of that, it comes with what I call a sock kind of diffuser here. I don't know what strength this even is, but if you want, you can cover it up, have a little bit of diffusion so it's not so harsh on whatever subject you're putting it on. For the most part, I run it just like this. It kind of bounces off the inside of this cone. Again, this is a COB attached device, so anything that you have that is a COB light setup, whether it's a diffusion box or any other attachments that you can do on there, you can absolutely certainly put it on these Amaran lights. One of the things I don't like about this light, and I don't even know if I added it to my cons list because I'm not there yet, but I did want to go over quickly that these lights don't come with really a case. They kind of come with like a styrofoam type case, but once you start taking stuff out of it and try to pack it all back in, like everything else that you get that's packaged up, it's nearly impossible. But just kind of show you the light here real quick. This is the size of the light. It's no bigger than the camera that you're using. It comes with a protective cover on the LED portion that you just press a button, spin and take off. I made it look very hard, but it's not really hard. And then simply anything that's COB, you just press it on and give it a twist and it's locked into place. So now you can kind of spotlight this and be able to really kind of use what you need to use. It's got a nice little screen on the side, which unfortunately on this one dropped, or I think some things moved around in my case. Again, not having a nice protective case for it. I'm using a lens case right now for it that I don't use for a lens. The screen actually cracked, but it's still functional. It's Bluetooth capable, so you can hook up an app to it. I'm gonna go over the app shortly with you guys. And then if not, you got a button on the back here that you can turn it on and off. You can change your color temperature. I believe you can also change through a couple different like scene type things, whether it's like lightning outside. Again, not RGB, so there's not like gonna be any like cop lights or anything like that if you wanna do that. Actual power switch here, so this changes your settings and you can kind of go through between presets, so like 20%, 40%, 50%, so on and so forth. And then you have your power attachment here whether that's for your battery attachment or your outlet power. As far as your battery attachment goes, it comes in a nice little V-mount setup here that just clicks right onto the side. And then you plug this part into the light itself. And then from there, like I said, you could run it on just your NPF type batteries. So I normally run 2 in this, I believe, and I'm gonna prove myself right or wrong here. You cannot run it with just 1 battery. So that is another question answered if you had that. Now we have power. So this is at 10%. These do have a little fan in there. You might be able to hear that. Hopefully I didn't just blind you guys with this. So 1% is still pretty strong on this. Bump it up just a little bit here. So that's actually at 2% there. So still pretty strong. And then all the way to 100 can just absolutely blind you. And once again, if you're afraid of the dark, never fear, lights are here. And then simply turn it off if you need to. Again, you have different switches there. Just to kind of show you, this is an extremely small footprint here. I don't think anybody should ever have to worry about this. It does caution you that this will get hot over time, so be careful once you're taking this down from a stand, or if you're using it, have that handle attachment there. It's got 1/4 I believe, screw set down here, as well as what looks like some sort of like RE pen mount. So it looks like it has the pens on the side there if you have like an RE mount of sort that you want to put on there. It does come with a little attachment to actually hook it up to a light stand. The normal light stands to kind of have a pole sticking through it, and then the other side would screw into this for you. But this is the light here. And again, it's small, it's powerful, and I think it's fantastic. So they did have a couple out there before. There was the 60X, and I think you can get those a little cheaper now. And then I got the 60XS. I don't even remember what the differences are. My apologies for that. Should have been prepared for that. All I know is this was a newer version. I think it was slightly brighter in some regards, maybe had a few more scenes. That's the only reason I went with the S. Just wanted to get the latest and greatest before I sold myself short, and it wasn't that much of a difference in price from what I remember. So once again, this light is easy to use. You have your Bones mount on there. It can be app controlled. It's extremely powerful for a small light, but let's go over some of the things I don't really like about it. Like I said, it doesn't come with an actual case. It is kind of frustrating. It's just like my drone didn't come with a case. Kind of don't understand this. It's a product that you want to protect. This has like a glass kind of screen on there. Luckily, I can still read it after that screen is cracked, but it is frustrating that the way they pack these things in, especially for size of shipping or anything like that, it's really tough to kind of repack it and not have other things just kind of, well, maybe I'll just leave it out of the case. So I kind of wish they came with a case. It comes with something. There is something there. It will protect the lights 100%. Good luck repacking though. The only con that I really wrote down for this light is I don't think it's powerful enough for a massive shoot. If you're going to a giant warehouse and you want to shoot your first music video, I don't think a couple of these are really going to do it to a certain extent. I think if you just have the Bones mount, like kind of spotlight attachment on there, and you just want to use that, I think you could get away with that easily. You're going to light the scene just fine. It's going to be color accurate, change the temperature to whatever you want it to. But as far as like these massive sets that you typically see on like a giant movie, you're not going to be able to light that. These guys are using either diffusion coming straight from the sun and changing it that way, or they're using these massive that are almost larger than life soft boxes, and you need something extremely powerful to go through those, and that's where your 300 plus D whatever they are going to come in handy, because then you'll have plenty of power to be able to go through that diffusion and actually light the subject you're trying to light. For me, this is perfectly fine. I think I could actually shoot a short film with these. I think I could go shoot a music video as long as I'm not using any type of diffusion on it. I think they're great. You guys have obviously seen the videos that I've been putting out using these same exact lights almost every time. There were a few before my first few videos. I was sitting at like my desk and I was using just kind of some cheap panel lights. I'm staring at them now, sorry. They work, they're Godox lights, they're controlled by a little remote and they get the job done, but this is just better. It's much more diffused, it's much more evenly lit. Those, I kind of have to have both of those to be able to light myself. I typically use them for like streaming, but it's not bad, but this is the way to go. And again, if you're like a wedding filmmaker like myself, or you're trying to shoot some other things like corporate videos or music videos or anything like that, having a couple of these lights handy are the best thing that you could possibly do for yourself to get that excellent image quality out of your cameras. Now, one last thing I want to talk about here is the app. So I've got the app still pulled up here. I'll see if this will focus here so you guys kind of see what it looks like there. There's not much to it. It's pretty simple to use. You have an on and off switch. You've got a percent of how far you want the light to go as far as how much power you're giving it. Right now, to let you guys kind of know how powerful this is, I have it at 12%. I'm shooting at 1.8 using 4000 ISO. Obviously, I could have lowered that and boosted up the light, but for some people, and I've had this scenario before, this light can obviously start to blind you. It gets extremely bright depending on how far you have it from you. I have it more than an arm's distance. I think most of the time people say the closer you get it, the better it's gonna work. But for me, I found some of my latest videos have kind of been overexposed. So I'm trying to expose about a stop and a half over with the vlog setup with these Lumix S5 II. And for me, hopefully this comes out great because I think this is gonna look much better than some of my recent videos. I don't have it all the way boosted. You can have like a dimming curve that you set up on it. You can change your color temperature. There's just only a few things I don't like about the app. For me, typically, if I'm at a wedding, I have this thing set up. I've got my brightness set up. I send my second shooter out to where I think I'm gonna have any of the bridesmaids or groomsmen or whoever plans on giving speeches. I send my second shooter out to that spot where I think we're gonna have them, talk with the DJ a little bit, and then go ahead and shine the light on him just to see how it's gonna look and see between my camera and the light what we wanna do as far as our setup. The problem is this app takes a few minutes to get started and find that light. So what you can do is you can turn it off via app, but leave it on the light itself, and then boost it up to however high you want it to go, point it wherever you wanna go, and then you can turn it on and off via the app. Once again, the problem is when you load up the app, it has to find that, and it's using a Bluetooth signal to do that. So if you're not close enough either, you can't just turn it on from anywhere in the world. So for example, if I'm out doing sunset photos and I know immediately we're gonna have to turn around and do speeches, then I've got to either have my second shooter to have the app to my lights, or I have to rush pretty quickly to be able to come back and get those lights on before they start speeches. If you are a wedding filmmaker or anybody that's doing any type of work like that, you understand that time is very, very important. And a lot of times you don't have time to do all of these things. So for me, the amount of time it takes to start this up is kind of a pain. If you noticed at the beginning of the video, I did this cool little intro and I said, all right, and because we have lights. And it even took a second while it was already connected to even have the on and off button to send that information to the light and then the light to go ahead and power on. And it would be the same as if I turned it off. And now I have been made a liar out of this light. Let's try to turn it back on. Now it wants to work. So it seems that if you are connected and you're ready to roll, it seems to work, but it has this little bit of moment where it needs to play catch up. Once you're in it, you're fine, you're good. But again, if I set this all up, put the phone in my pocket, turn the app to asleep or whatever, even if it's still open on the phone, but the phone is in whatever sleep mode it is, this light is still going to take a minute for that app to reconnect to the light. Outside of that, it is fantastic that there is that option. Again, this is something you typically see in your more expensive lights out there because it needs to have that frequency to be able to, whether it's Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or whatever the case may be, to be able to actually do that is a very, very nice feature. And it's nice to be able to know that once I set this up, I don't have to bring it back down to power it back on. I don't have to worry about bringing it down, trying to adjust the intensity of the light and then put it back up. Hope that was enough of a change, whether it was up or down. It's very easy to go through. It's a fantastic light. If you guys are interested in anything else about these lights, if you have any other questions, please leave them in the comments down below. I hope I got through everything that would answer your typical questions. From a beginner and somebody that's out there that is looking for something that is budget friendly, but still wants something fantastic, this is your go-to light. These are the way you want to go. Again, in a setting like this, at a wedding day, at a small filming setup, I have some filming that I've done with this light with some interviews. I'd love to be able to show you guys that, but unfortunately it's not out yet, so I can't show you yet what that looks like, but I can tell you just using one and even sometimes both of these lights is absolutely all you need for your typical interviews, your wedding day, your talking head like this, any type of YouTube video that you plan on shooting. For the most part, this is going to get it done. Again, just as important, if not more important than the camera and the lens that you're choosing. It will make your films look better. Thank you guys so much. If you haven't already, I would appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button and drop a like on this video. It absolutely helps these videos excel. It helps me be able to make more videos. It makes me understand that hopefully I'm helping some of you out there understand some of the things to buy and some of the things not to buy. I appreciate your time today. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time.